They told me humans were dangerous. What they didn't tell me was that the most terrifying thing about them wasn't their strength or their weapons, it was their flowers. I burst through the door of our shared apartment, my excitement barely contained. I had been practically running since I received the message. "Tom, she said yes," I called out to my roommate. Tom had been sharing this place with me for almost a year now. He was human, what the galaxy called a survivor from the harsh worlds. Behind that intimidating label, I had discovered someone just like me, though with a few unusual traits like his ability to handle strong chemicals that would make me sick. He was not particularly large or imposing, and while I had never seen him face real danger, he was not immune to small accidents while cooking. The biggest difference I noticed was in his body language, almost invisible to those not familiar with his species, but humans apparently made up for this with complex voice patterns that were lost through our universal translator. When I first met Tom, I thought he was emotionless. I could not have been more wrong. He was far better at social situations than I was, and it was only thanks to his advice that I had managed to ask Maya out on a date. "Great work," he said, his face forming what I knew was a smile, a sign of happiness among his people. My excitement quickly turned to worry, but I do not know where to take her or what to wear or what I should do. He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder to calm my shaking. "Relax, we have a whole week to plan this. You already know where to take her." "What do you mean?" "Remember that small restaurant where the office workers invited us last month? You said you would take your first date there. That was just talk. Maybe, but it is actually not a bad idea. As for what to wear, there is only one choice, and you know it." He was right. I only owned one formal outfit. "I think she might like a small gift. People often give flowers." "Flowers? I do not think she is interested in gardening. I meant like a bundle of cut flowers." "Never mind. Your people probably do not do that." "Just curious, what is a bundle of cut flowers?" "It is a collection of flowers that have been cut with their stems. It is common practice to give them among humans. Is it not strange to give someone dead plants? The plants are not dead. If you put them in water, they can survive for several days. Though I admit it is a bit odd when you think about it." "Not dead? But I thought they had their stems cut." "Yes, but you need more than that to harm a flower. As long as it has water and light, it can feed itself through photosynthesis. I suppose it only stops living when it runs out of nutrients." "But they were cut in half. How can they not be harmed?" "I do not know exactly. I am no plant expert. But plants are resilient. The ones from Earth at least. They cannot run from danger after all. So they have to be able to recover from damage." "There is no recovering from being cut in half, though. There is only delaying what comes next." "I am not sure about that. There are many trees that can regrow from just their base under the right conditions." I found myself instinctively curling into a defensive position and trembling. It was the first time I had heard about non-intelligent life forms from Earth, and I hoped it would be the last, given all the disturbing information about their plant life. Never would I have imagined being afraid of flowers. Yet here I was, scared like a child who just learned about ancient predators. I was a grown adult. Fear would not control me. I needed to gather myself and be curious rather than frightened about the unknown. As my parent always said, those who refuse to learn will live in fear. From a scientific perspective, earth plants were fascinating examples of survival and adaptation to a hostile environment. I stood up and tried to hide my fear. I knew Tom could read subtle expressions, but effort mattered. "So trees can regrow from their base. Can they also regrow from their branches? Are you sure you want me to continue talking about this? Maybe we should stop here. We can continue." "I am fine. No offense, but you are not fine. I can see it clearly. I am not fine, but I will rest better tonight knowing the complete truth rather than imagining half of it." "Your choice. There are trees that can grow from just a cut branch. Though it probably would not happen naturally. But if you know the proper techniques, it is absolutely possible. It does not work with all types, though. Working with such resilient plants must be quite challenging. I have heard it is enjoyable when you like it. There is much to do, trimming, watering, joining different plants together. Tom made an expression he rarely used, and it took me a moment to recognize it from tutorials on human communication. He had said something he had not meant to. Right. Well, if you attach part of one plant to another plant, it might transfer some of its characteristics to it. I am not sure of the details, but that is the basic idea. That wins the Disturbing Information Award for tonight. The less I considered the implications, the better. I could see Tom was uncomfortable too. Perhaps I should make a light comment to move the conversation away from this topic. Imagine if that worked with animals. Like if you were joined with a bird part, you would start growing feathers. That sounded better in my head. I completely failed, did I not? Actually, for animals, it is called transplantation, and thankfully, it does not work like that. You are telling me it is possible. There was that rare expression again. Tom looked uncomfortable. If transplantation does not work like that, how does it work? My roommate's expression was unreadable, but not because his emotions were invisible as usual. He was scared, angry, embarrassed, and showing dozens of other signals I could not interpret. Enough talking for tonight. The color of his skin was noticeably different. I had never seen that before, but I was guessing it was not a good sign. I need to know exactly what I am sharing a home with. He spoke slowly, but did not seem calmer. I am going to pack my belongings. Wait, what? Was he really that upset? It seemed like an extreme decision to me. He had not appeared more than mildly irritated, but I had no real reference for human emotions. I sighed. I had messed up again. Tom, forget it. It is fine. No, it is not. What do you mean it is not? He turned to me, his face showing sadness and something else. It is not right to mislead you, even by not telling you things. You are clearly uncomfortable with my biology, and I do not want to force you to live with someone who disturbs you. Disturb me? Come on, Tom. You are my friend. Who cares if you can survive major injuries? If anything, that is impressive. Do not lie to make me feel better. I know what you think of me. Really? Since when can you read minds? Since all members of your species think the same thing. During this whole conversation, he had been preparing to leave. He was putting on his shoes at this point. I rushed to the door, blocking his path. I cannot let you make this kind of decision while you are not thinking clearly. He did not answer, simply placed his hands under my arms and lifted me like I weighed nothing, then sat me down out of the way. What? Since when are you so strong? It was not effortless, but still, I weigh more than 50 kilograms. See what I mean? My confusion was obvious. I genuinely did not understand. Right now you are thinking about the fact that I could overpower you and you would be helpless to stop me. Not at all. That did not even occur to me. Why would you think that? Because it is what everyone thinks. Everyone? Are you sure about that? Have you actually met anyone who told you that? Yes, several people. Really? Well, give me their information, and they will see that non-humans can stand up for themselves too. He breathed out through his nose and smiled slightly. You have a point, but I doubt sending them an amateur fighter would improve their opinion of me. Do you feel better now? A little? Well, go sit down. I will prepare you a warm drink, and then we will discuss all of this calmly. A little later, we sat together again. So, where do we begin? How about the fact that you lifted me like I was weightless? I thought I was the athletic one between us. Well, the gravity here is only 2/3 of my home world, and half of the planet my species evolved on. 45 kilograms in Earth gravity is manageable for a young adult, and I exercise regularly to stay fit in low gravity. From now on, you will carry the groceries alone. Fair enough. Now, where were we? Transplantation. So yes, if a human were to lose an organ, they could have another one implanted through medical procedures. If done correctly, and with a compatible donor, the body will accept the new organ. By far the most common transplant is for blood. And where does the organ come from? Nowadays, they are grown in laboratories. For a long time, they came from other humans. Some organs could be donated by living humans, like blood, but others had to be taken from recently deceased people. I am not sure if this is inspiring or disturbing, that people were willing to give parts of their bodies to save lives. It is probably both, actually. And what are these medical procedures? Well, it involves opening up people to fix their internal problems. It is more complicated than that, though. More like intervening in the body with specialized tools. I am not great at explaining. You look like you are going to be sick. I cannot do that. I have not evolved that defense mechanism against toxins. But how do you not perish from such procedures? Medical procedures can be quite dangerous, do not get me wrong. You need many years of training to become a medical specialist. But do you really need to have procedures every time you get sick? Oh no. Thankfully we have normal medicines for regular illnesses. Good. How many diseases can you get? I know my species is quite fortunate. We only have 4. I assume it is more for you. I do not know exactly. Probably thousands from germs and then many genetic diseases. Thousands. How do you have a cure for each one? How is there room for so many diseases? The average human must get sick many times for this to work. We do get sick often, but there is no need to have a cure for each one in many cases. We just have to reduce the symptoms and let our immune system do the rest. I have no doubt your immune system is stronger than mine, but I doubt it can completely eliminate a disease after it takes hold. That seems illogical. Well, it is because we actually have several immune systems, including one extremely powerful and specialized one, called the adaptive immune system. It can destroy a specific germ once activated. But how can it be ready for thousands of diseases? And what if a new disease appears? Well, that is the clever part. We are ready for every disease, past, present, and future. I do not understand. How can you be ready for illnesses that do not exist yet? There are only so many ways to arrange proteins in a microorganism. We just have to be ready for any potential combinations. That would probably count in the billions, though. Even finding the correct combination must take days. Yes, but at least there is a system to remember which diseases we caught, so we do not catch them again. That sounds like something that rarely happens. I know someone who catches the seasonal flu every year. That is true, but the flu virus is different every year. We adapt, so it adapts too. I am not going to think about the implications, but such a system must be costly. Disease can be a serious problem, and I guess on a harsh world it makes survival more difficult. But still, is it really worth it? Tom chuckled. A serious problem. Do you know why Earth is considered a harsh world? Because it is difficult to live there in every way. Kind of harsh, but also true. It is worse in certain areas than others though, and diseases sure are one of them. How bad is it? 90 to 95%. I frowned. Was this some form of danger classification I was not aware of? Whatever that meant, it sounded quite bad. What does that mean? That was the worst epidemic in recorded human and galactic history. You mean that 90 to 95% of all infected people perish? No, I mean that the population dropped by 90 to 95%. I stopped breathing for a moment, trying to comprehend the scale of devastation that represented. Diseases on Earth were not just problems or even serious concerns. They were civilization-ending threats. I tried imagining the suffering, the desperate measures, and all the hardships these people had endured. But I felt as if I could never truly grasp the colossal scale of this disaster. How had humanity survived? How was my friend standing before me if they had to fight such catastrophes while trying to grow and develop? Do not worry, modern diseases are nowhere near that severe. In fact, we eliminated several major illnesses with nothing but preventive medicine. And what is preventive medicine? Well, as I told you, our immune system can remember diseases we caught in the past. So by injecting ourselves with a weakened version of the disease, we can become immune to it. It sounds extreme, but it is extremely effective. I decided to steer the conversation away from this disturbing topic before I could think more about the implications. I feel quite defenseless compared to you now. Do not be. You have plenty of defenses I could not afford, evolutionarily speaking. For example, you are immune to cellular malfunction diseases. Also, no complex immune system means no overreactions to harmless substances. Do I even want to ask what those are? Cellular malfunction is a category of illness that can affect any complex organism. It happens when a cell starts to reproduce uncontrollably, forming growths and taking resources away from the body. Overreactions are when the immune system responds to something harmless, like a certain type of food. As I mentioned, the human immune system is very powerful, powerful enough to harm its owner. So much for avoiding disturbing topics. I looked at the time, which gave me a good excuse to end the conversation. Since it is getting late, are there any other concerning things I should be aware of before going to sleep? I mean, humans deal with many parasites, but I probably do not have any. Parasites are real. I thought they were invented by science fiction writers. Where do you think they got inspiration? Well, at least real human parasites are nowhere near that dramatic. Insects, on the other hand, look, I do not want to upset you, so believe me when I tell you that some of the fungal infections are quite disturbing. It was the first time he had considered something as truly upsetting. I was inclined to believe him. The story continues with their friendship growing stronger through understanding. As the narrator learns that despite the harsh realities of Tom's world, the bond between different species can overcome fear and misunderstanding.